The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the Language of Healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Now here's your host, Emotional Wisdom Training Specialist Nicole Fortin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Language of Healing. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Fortin, and today I'm very excited, very happy and excited to be here with you today and have our guest on, who is Kate Michels, one of my teachers and mentors, an amazing human being. And this is a slight continuation. Hi, Heather. Very excited for today's guest. Yes, I share so much about this woman. She's really impacted so much of my life, and one of the major reasons why I'm here doing what I'm doing today and continue to, become who I am, based on the choices that I'm making and being more resourceful. And, I think we're all on this journey wanting to be better, hopefully wanting to be better and live our best and most possible life, with like this limitless possibility of life and choices that we can make and moves that we do that really impact or the greater good and the small ripples, like the subtle changes that really make a big difference. This woman, Kate Michels, is definitely a key factor for that in my life and many others. So we're going to learn a little bit more about me today and my journey. Last week, we talked with Dr. Stephanie Yip, who is a colleague and good friend of mine in the Chinese medicine and acupuncture world. And today we're going to go into a bit of the emotional wisdom training and how that all ties in together with the work that I do. There's so many aspects to health and wellness and healing and the journey of healing and the journey of life. So all of these factors really make up who we are as human beings and what we share with the world. So I'm here coming at you live every Friday to share a little bit more about what I do and the people that I encounter and what really makes a difference in your life. So this woman, Kate Michels, deserves a full-on introduction, so I'm going to read a little bit about who she is, what she does, and I'm very excited to bring her on shortly. So Kate Michels is a master certified coach and neuro-linguistic practitioner. She is the founder and CEO of the Emotional Wisdom Training Institute, and she also has a radio show on the W4CY radio station called Emotional Wisdom Training, which you should definitely tune into every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Great insight and lots of good things to share. So Kate created her program by utilizing the art of philosophy and the science of traditional counseling, mentoring, and psychology to create courses that include neuro-linguistic programming and emotional wisdom training. And what came to be known as core alignment coaching, Kate implemented 5 steps to success that has been acknowledged by the Heart Math Institute as a system that positively harmonizes the body's biorhythm. How does it get better than that? These effective methods and Kate's writings are included in best-selling books with experts such as Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, and Jack Canfield. So we're very lucky to have her as a guest today. Kate's well-known strategic coaching methods have been shared with executive teams in the health and wellness industry, seeking to find resolutions for their clients from dissociative identity disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, social anxiety, eating disorders, sleep issues, to the normal struggles of everyday life. Kate's appearances as an international speaker include Advance of the Spirit in California, Centerpoint retreats in Austin, Texas, Transformational Trainers in Lithuania, Czech Republic, and the Summer of Peace 2009, California. Kate continues to appear in health and wellness expos, motivational workshops, women's retreats, transformational training classes, business meetings, community outreach, and so much more. And because of her in-depth experience and work in craniosacral, matrix energetics, and massage for chronic conditions, Kate is well-versed in the body-mind connection that gives her the ability to expand her reach to an intuitive style of coaching along with the art and science backing that far outweighs most coaching methods in the coaching industry. As a best-selling author, motivational speaker, and an internationally recognized coach of coaches, Kate is also an expert consultant for the Life Principles integration process at Centerpoint Research Institute. Kate's work has been recognized in Coach Magazine by her popular articles such as Does Coaching Change the Brain? Volume 12, number 4, and many other articles. And Emotional Wisdom Training Institute continues to grow its following because of the teachings, the coaches, and most importantly, our founder, Kate Michels, as our guest today. Let's bring her on, please. Hello.
I just love hearing about myself. Like, wow, is that me? Oh my gosh, I'm pretty busy. What have I been doing?
You are busy. You have the most incredible stories.
So thank you, Nicole, for having me on today and for getting to join in this live language of healing. So I'm excited to hear what we share with our audience.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And yeah, so, I mean, Kate, you have been such an instrumental piece in my life. I mean, I'm sure you hear this all the time, that your work really changes lives, and it's so approachable. You know, it's like those subtle, gradual pieces that really make the foundational shifts for getting more of what you want out of life. I mean, my work has changed, my health, my relationships, all aspects of life have really benefited from working with you. And I've had the privilege to train with you and take your program, emotional wisdom training and core alignment coaching from the past. And so, I mean, I don't know, where's the free conversation here?
What I was thinking is your program's called The Language of Healing. And, yes. My background from the time I was 5 years old is Chatty Cathy. And it's all about language. It's all about communicating and talking to people. And it's really exciting to think of the concept of the language of healing. And so what I would really like for you to tell me is, what does that really mean to you, this language of healing?
Yeah, it means so much. Like you said, based on the Neuro-Linguistic Programming principles and theory, that our language, I mean, it's so much like firstly, I'm a very worldly, international person. Like, I love travel. I was born in Germany. My father's French Canadian. My mother speaks French and English. And so I was always surrounded by language. And, just have a natural ear for language. I studied Chinese or Mandarin and Indonesian, German. I've dabbled in some languages, but like, healing has its own language. There's certain messages and key things that you can be trained to hear or speak, and really how that benefits us, like learning the language of ourselves, of our own innate healing abilities. And I mean, I love all healing traditions from around the world. So language and healing are two key words that encompass who I am and what I'm all about. Really. So it just kind of seems quite natural to be speaking on the language of healing.
Well, for your audience, I have been going through the healing process of cancer for the last 6 months, and my doctor, Dr. Pettit, called me on the phone the other day and told me that I was basically in remission now, which means that basically I'm at the place now of just rebuilding and re-strengthening myself. Now, the thing that was wonderful is that she called me on the phone, right? I received a phone call from her and was like, hello, this is Irene. And this is Kate. You know, we connected because we spoke. And when people are sick, they're waiting to hear from their doctors, right? If the doctor calls, people will take that call before they'll take any other call. They'll interrupt the doctor's calling. Right? We want to receive the message. We want to get that message. We want to hear that message. And that's what I get from you, is you're here sharing that there's this message that we have the ability to receive. And when we receive the message, we actually are able to make the changes. We're able to get the healing that will make the difference, that will move us. So what's one of your big messages that you share with people?
I mean, one of my big messages is around, living life. There's this adventure or natural curiosity about life, and like getting curious, asking more questions, and the message around like keeping it natural and easy and fun and playful. And because healing and illness can be so heavy, it can really weigh us down in worry. And not to say that that's not valid or part of the process, right? But my message is in this like lightness that comes with the fun and the curiosity of what's our body doing? Where, what is it asking of us, and what can we do to improve it, or just to honor it. Our bodies are incredible machines. I like to think of them as, complex machines that are resonating, and they have their frequencies and they have their purpose, and it's quite fun to piece it together. Yeah. So I'm kind of like a Sherlock Holmesy, like I like that playfulness, the curiosity of like solving a mystery, gaining more information.
Well, that's one of the things that made this journey that I've been through over the last 6 months easier for me, is that I didn't take it as heavy. This is not a battle that I'm going through. This is another journey that I'm on. This is another adventure. This is an experience I'm going to have. And my doctor, Dr. Pettit, has been with me since the very first day, since January 4th. So basically, she figured out who I am and has communicated with me from where I come from, right? This is what makes the difference in the language of healing, is finding out where someone is coming from and being there with them instead of saying where they have to go or telling them where they have to go. And what I see you do on a regular basis is you find out where people are and you go there with them. It's like, what country are they in? What language are they speaking? What position are they coming from? What gets their attention? And that's what gets your attention.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I find people so curious, so interesting, because, well, in a big part of your training in the NeuroLinguistic Programming world and the psychotherapy is really recognizing what beliefs and values someone holds dear to them, right? And working with that, because you can't, there's so many ways to get to health and healing, and to support someone in that their container where they're comfortable with. And you've taught me this, that the subconscious ego really wants like information and to be, to have assurance, like to feel reassured, so I find that's a big part of the work that I do, is to really meet someone just as at a point of curiosity, like non-judgmental. I mean, I'm just here to support, right? Wherever they are and what their goals are. And I find that quite fun, like that, the curiosity around that. Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to my doctor again, Dr. Pettit, and she was so excited and curious about my condition on a regular basis. It's like, okay. That she took the fear out of it because she was excited and curious about it. It's like there was this, at one point, I have this bump on the top of my mouth. And she was looking at the bump on the top of my mouth and she's like, I know what that is. And then she asked the other doctors, what's that called? What's that called? And they moved it into a normal state of being, and they were excited and they were curious. And then when they ran the results and got the results back of what type of cancer I had and where it was in my DNA and where it was in my cells. So instead of it being this fearful thing, it was a curious thing, like you were talking about. They were excited about it. We're amazing beings. Our body, as you said, we are amazing machines. Our minds are amazing. And we have the ability to move from where we are to where we want to be on a more regular basis when we're supported through that structure, when there's an opening that's created. So you're having the live Language of Healing radio show, and you have guests that come on here that are creating more openings. So what kind of guests do you have that come on the show besides me?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, the guests I've had on my show really are people that I've worked with, or that I've been inspired by. I really love their work or believe in that. We've had someone come on and talk about, space, like creating a space in the feng shui type of arena. And even like, I had a photographer, Don Hychek, who captures an image of you, and just like all of that comes with that, like really showing up. And I mean, the guests that I have on are really forging or supporting a world where we're more connected. And it's not to get too heady into it, of like thinking about all of these, because I don't know, I can relate to this, where you get too consumed with, oh, what's the meaning of that, and what is this going to lead to, and versus just being in the present moment. But all of my guests are really contributing some work that listeners can take. I mean, I had, Dr. Stephanie Yip, she's great at women's health, and just opening the conversation around postpartum, conditions like depressions or stress, and all the physical things as well. But, just opening conversation around some of these.
The thing that you shared that got my attention is you had this photographer, right? So I didn't hear the photographer conversation. So how does the photographer conversation fit into the Language of Healing?
It's so many ways. That's such a great question. I mean, because, he works with a lot of, let's say business women, entrepreneurs that, or people in business that want to have a photo of them for, their website, or their, promoting themselves. But there's so much that comes up when you're faced to the camera, right? Like they're capturing you as a being. So the worry of, do I look okay? Like, am I photogenic or not? There's all those superficial worries. This is my experience as well. But I think that he deals with this on a regular basis. Like he has this wonderful questionnaire, of before you work with him, and he really gets to know you as a person, and maybe where your limitations are and where your strengths are. And he helps support finding that or tapping into that and owning it, right? To then perform or like to expose a beautiful photo. So his work is around like the wounds that come up when you're confronted with this.
So we can map
photograph.
that over into emotional wisdom training very easily, because that comes along with the whole belief structure that we have around ourselves and our subconscious ego and
absolutely
the spin cycles. Oh,
yeah. Right, here we go again.
Right, here we go
Yeah.
again. I'm in front of the camera right now. I'm in front of the camera, and this is the first time I've done a presentation since I lost my hair in February. So it's like, okay, here I am. I'm here. No hat, no wig. It's like, okay, this is me. And it's interesting because now that on a regular basis, I don't wear a hat anymore, and I don't wear a wig, and I forget that I don't have any hair until I see it. And so other people are probably not thinking that much about it either. And this is what I think is powerful for us to get, is that we're projecting ourselves out there for others, and they're looking to us for our projection. Right. So if I project myself as being totally comfortable, this is the way I look all the time. No one has to even know. I mean, I could be one of those people that shave my head on a regular basis. I could be a Buddhist. No one knows the reason that I don't have any hair right now. I may look beautiful without any hair, right? It's the concept of projection that we have the ability to take. And from the language of healing, you have the ability to perceive what someone else might be projecting and support them in projecting and perceiving a more positive, healthier image so that they can move through the conflicts that get in the way, the same way that the photographer is moving through the conflicts that get in the way. That's what I see the live language of healing being there for. It's for all of us to move through these things that keep us from being the amazing machines that we are, and block our curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. You always just say things so eloquently, like makes so much sense out of your mouth. But yeah, I mean, because we are well, based on your teachings and the 5 steps, and we are all whole, creative, perfect, and resourceful, just doing the best that we can with what the information that we have. But if we put in these beliefs or these blocks that stop us from really being whole and perfect, it's almost a little sad. I feel like that we do this to ourselves because we can be our own worst enemies, right? And creating all these like limitations and blocks. And because when I look at you or when I see you or interact with you, like, I have such reverence for you, how you move through all of these things, right? And yes, I think you look beautiful without hair. I mean, I love it. And that doesn't really matter to me, but you could have that perception that this matters, right? And it does matter. Oh, Heather, you look beautiful, Kate. You're an amazing inspiration. Yes. Oh, Heather, you're so wonderful. See, so it's interesting what others see and feel about us versus what we see and feel about ourselves. And that's where my work is interesting, to help unravel and unwind some of that, and be there for someone to be in their whole creative, perfect, resourceful space, because that's what we as these amazing human machines are.
And we've got you've got so many tools in your bag of tricks. You've got the emotional wisdom training, you've got acupuncture. And one of the conversations we've had throughout the past years has been about scars. And kind of that right now with talking about me not having any hair, I'm thinking of scars, because what we think people see with scars is really not what people see. And so I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the scar work that you do and how we can actually move through that scarring process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. Yes. Well, personally, I can speak from my personal experience, first of all, and maybe what inspires me to then be there to share what I've gathered from that, because scars can be physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. There's scarring, and like if I view ourselves, we are material, we are solid, but we're also so expansive and energetic, all in one. So we're like this, and then like our energetic fields can be scarred or weighed down or heavy or like attacked or leaky, and then we see that in our physical bodies. So the connection between the two, like for example, my main scars, physical scars, would be chronic acne, like cystic acne that really left a lot of scarring on my face. And I mean, the physicalness of that is one thing, right? Because I could not ever look at myself. I wouldn't know that they were there. But I know that they're there because when you look in the mirror or you interact with some people and you're afraid that my scars are going to show a weakness or something like wrong, right? So it's funny how then we try to hide or like compensate for that in a way. Oh, maybe I'll be a little like funny, quirky to hide that I'm like really quite insecure with how I look. And I mean, owning that and just like working with the feelings that are attached to that has been quite liberating, right? I remember when I stopped wearing makeup, like that was a big thing for me, to not try and hide it and just live my life. And actually my skin got better because of that, right? Like when I just owned it and wasn't caking more material on top to like hide it, to band-aid, really remedy it. But the true healing had to come from within myself and how secure I was in that. But I mean, scar work, when I'm working with people, because anytime we cut open the body, like a surgical scar, that leaves a clear defined scar that then can lay scar tissue and more interconnectedness inside the body in an attempt to correct itself, right? Like it's all just compensation. So it's like we treat the scar, we treat the compensation and all the things that come along with it. So my journey with scars is quite important because I recognize how deeply it can impact us, or it can impact our psyche, but it can also impact our physical range of motion. So acupuncture is a wonderful tool for scars. Just in a few treatments, the scar will completely change by, essentially reprogramming it with acupuncture needles. Like that's really what we're doing, is just acupuncture needles are just reminding the body of its natural state and how to heal itself, tapping in. It's like acupuncture is a language for the body, right? Like the body recognizes the language of acupuncture. When it receives it, it knows what to do with that. I mean, so yeah, sorry, maybe a little tangent, but
well, one of the things that amazes me is we get brand new skin every 5 years. So we really shouldn't even have these scars. And yet we do have them and we keep them. We hold on to them and they're like a treasure that we have in a sense.
Right. We identify with it so much that it stays there.
Yeah. And then we have our story. And the bigger that story is, the more attention that scar can get. Like as you were talking about with the blemishes on your face. My daughter, when she was little, my sister had acne scars as well. And I did not have acne scars. And so my daughter says and she's like 4 years old, she says to my sister, when I grow up, I want to have orange peel skin like you. Now, she was complimenting her. She was like, your skin has so much character. My mom's skin is just kind of flat and blah, but your skin has so much character. And it's like, and I was saying earlier, right? Our perception and our perspective makes such a difference, because here's this 4-year-old that thought it was beautiful and thought it was attractive. Yeah. And then as a woman, she was offended and insulted. That wasn't very nice to say. It's like, okay, whoa. The language of healing, that could have been a really healing moment for the woman to receive that message, that someone saw it as beautiful and interesting and wanted to have it. And we convert it into our own storyline and go, wait a second, I've got this storyline that I've been telling myself for all this time that limits me much more than this new storyline that supports me. And so what I see you offering is people a new storyline that they can use so that they can have that clearing, like with acupuncture, a clearing that can actually remedy the scar or give the scar attention enough so that it can relax. Because sometimes we're just resisting that it's there. And because we resist it, it grows bigger and bigger and bigger until we give it the attention it's demanding.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, and a scar is just a, easy thing to recognize and see. And I mean, physically, there's resistance that comes with it, that we have, changes the skin around it or something like that. So yeah, I really like that perspective of the new story. Give it the attention it's asking for, listening to it. And then, yes, you're right. We regenerate all the time. We have a new body every 7 years, right? Even every single cell in our being regenerates. So technically we should have new bodies every 7-8 years.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole Jubilee. In the Old Testament, there was a Jubilee. All debts are forgiven every 7 years. Imagine if we forgave all of the debts of our body every 7 years.
Oh, that's amazing. Right?
Yeah.
So then it kind of brings me to this thing of aging as well, because I really see that almost as it's a belief, and maybe society, we view aging as a bit of a weakness in some cultures, right? But it doesn't have to be the excuse that, oh, I'm getting old, so my body's deteriorating. It's like, well, what's old? What's stuck? What's stagnant? Is it more of that resistance to this process that our bodies are going through? Because actually, I think as we age, we encounter so much more, and we become so much more rich, with knowledge and wisdom. And I remember when I studied massage therapy, and we saw this cross section of a thigh, upper thigh, the muscle. So cross section is just like you have the leg, and then we cut it in half, and we look at the bone and the muscles around it. And there was a 40-year-old athlete. So we saw nice health, nice firmness. And then we saw an 84-year-old's cross section who also kept physically fit. And it looked the same. 40, 84. But with the less active 84-year-old, it was deteriorated. It was weak. So, I just think that aging is not a reason for deterioration, if that makes sense. If that's even possible. And that's where I think that if we really tune into the language of healing and life hack that, right? Not get consumed by the spin cycles or our limitations and, blocks that we create for ourselves. That's why it's kind of makes me a little sad sometimes that we have these beliefs that are accepted, when that actually doesn't have to be the story. It doesn't have to be the narrative. It can be something completely different.
When I was 37 years old, my uncle was 72 years old, and he had a stroke. So I went to take care of my aunt and my uncle, because my aunt was 72 years old as well. And I got there, and here she is. She's 72. All of her friends are like 68, 69, 70, 71. They were like skiing. They were dancing. They were alive and excited. Yeah, my uncle had a stroke because he'd taken Viagra after having cocktails and skiing all day long. So he put his body into turmoil. And that's what caused the stroke in the first place, was the resistance to what his natural system was doing and giving his system something that caused the system to go into shock. What I experienced was, I felt older and more dead at 37 than they did at 69, 70, and 71, 72. And that woke me up. And I said, wait a second, there's something that's going on in my life that's causing this stagnation, that's causing me to think, oh, I'm getting old. Because I'm only 37 and they're like twice as old as me and so alive. And now I just turned 60. And somebody said, oh, I'm sorry I wasn't able to wish you happy birthday on your birthday. And I said, oh, that's okay. I'm going to celebrate being 60 this whole entire year. And they said, that's the way that everybody should be, right? We should celebrate whatever age we are the whole entire time. Not just one day, the day that we turn it, but that whole year. And, I look forward to feeling better now than I did yesterday, which I think is one of the opportunities we have when we get into the language of healing, emotionally, physically, using Chinese medicine, using acupuncture, using nutrition, using supplements, using the language, whatever it takes, so that we have the ability to celebrate and feel amazing, because we're amazing systems.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm reminded of one of the practices of emotional wisdom training in the state line, where we can have our two hands. And actually, we had the teaching director, Kat Kohler-Schwartz, on as well as a guest. And, we had talked about this idea of the two states and choosing, like there's the center line, and then we have, say, negative, positive, and that we have choice and we have freedom and flexibility to go within that. And it's just about retraining, recognizing and retraining that, exercising that choice. It's like a muscle that we have to build, and it takes courage, I think, and curiosity. That's why I'm a big advocate for being curious and looking at life and health and illness as a curious adventure, because the body is actually doing a very smart thing. Any illness that you have, like, the body is inherently wise and doing the best that it can, and giving the proper respect for that. Like, even for me with skin, it's like, oh, my body is amazing. It's trying to eliminate the toxicity within me. Do I support that process, or do I resist it? And the resistance creates more stuck, more stagnation, more frustration, and carry that on for decades. You get, oh, I'm old. Oh, I'm getting old. My body's failing because I'm old. Well, maybe, let's unwind it a bit and honor, respect everything that it's carried you through and been there for.
Appreciate all those scars.
Yes.
And find the areas that are uncomfortable and are asking for some attention, and seek more language.
Yeah. And like when you said, mention that story about the little girl was it your niece or nephew or niece that had mentioned, like, I want orange peel skin like you? Like, I remember also being a child and seeing someone with quite bad scarring on their face, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I thought, like, wow, he's really handsome. I really actually thought, like, this man is handsome. Just as a young child, I was very like, it's interesting, and scars add character, and maybe that is part of the story, right? That we connect with and can resonate with, because stories, they might limit us, but they can also motivate and inspire us. And so I think there is
and
quite,
all we have to do is change the storyline, as we've been talking about.
Right. Yes.
Find out what we want to focus on and broaden that picture.
Right. And the emotional wisdom training that, that you provide or created and I've trained in, has really opened up the door to exploring that more, about the storyline and what story and what more could I gather about that, right? Because we have a story, we decide that it is this is what happened, and then close off all of the other information, that, and so it's wonderful to have that extra information, or all of the information, right? Then we can create and choose more resourceful decisions that create more of what we want in life. And so then the magic of creating what limits us into what motivates us, creating movement out of that stagnation.
Right.
Yeah. So scars are a great starting point, right? Because they're there, and it could be a trauma or something.
Scars and conditions are a great starting point. Like, so the cancer condition, right?
Yeah.
So I could buy into one cancer story, or I can make up my own cancer story, and I can expand upon that cancer story, right? So instead of the whole fight the cancer battle, the melodrama, I didn't want to buy into that story. So I bought into another story of, this is the cancer journey, and this is a condition, and I'm going to go through this and grow through this. And that's where I went with it, which makes a big difference for me, right? And we have the ability to choose where we're going to go with this. Now, having the support of emotional wisdom training, having the support of the language and the neuro-linguistic practices makes a really big difference. I say that people do what they do because of what they need. I needed emotional wisdom training, which is why I created emotional wisdom training. I needed to train my emotions. I'm a kinesthetic, feeling, Hispanic, passionate woman who feels everything. And I needed to learn how to train my emotions so that I could actually get more done in my life than just constantly reeling in my feeling. So for you, I see the same thing, right? There's a healing for you that you needed. So you do it so that you can get it, so that you can have it to share with others.
Yes, 100%. I believe that on some level, I've done all of my training really mostly for myself. Like, really, because, I studied Chinese medicine, and I think this is amazing. Even if I never work in this field, I have all of this information that supports me. And that's a really wonderful thing, but I'm very passionate about it, and see how it's, all of the things that I've studied, I've experienced success with it, and naturally want to share that with others.
And when we were talking about this interview, you started when you were 18 years old in the healing profession, gathering tools and gathering practices. And you have been gathering tools and practices ever since then. And the first one you got was massage therapy, because you needed massage therapy. The next one you got was
Acupuncture, and then yoga, hatha yoga. Yes, because I had injuries. I have my scars and my conditions, and this is my journey. I just, got lucky enough to totally immerse myself in it because I thought, wow, this is a miracle, like I feel better. That was miraculous, like teach me more, tell me more. How can I keep this going for myself and, support others in their journey? I mean, injuries, accidents, incidences, events, like they happen all the time, right? We're always encountering these experiences, and it's really an opportunity for us to, assert ourselves, know what we want, ask for it, show up, keep our word, and have a natural attitude of gratitude along the way. Oh, but yeah, great show. Thank you both for sharing your gems. Wonderful. Bahia also has a radio show on the W4CY radio network, and you can check it out. I think that's called I Think Therefore I Am. And okay, so I believe we have to wrap it up today. Kate, thank you so much for your time and for joining me here today. And I really appreciate you sharing your journey and supporting me along mine.
Thank you.
Any last words for our audience?
I just want people to figure out how to say they love others more. The language of healing. The language that we share is so important. And knowing that the language we share makes a difference, paying attention to that language really does matter.
Mm-hmm. Great. And so we'll leave the show here with Kate's amazing power question. What will you take with you that will support you for the rest of your life? See you next week.
Wow, what a show today, and the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. See you next week.